Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 5 of the historic Simracing organization Kart 1988 Championship, coming to you tonight from Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indianapolis 500, the 500-mile grueling, difficult, fantastically frustrating sometimes, but also incredibly rewarding race. Where we will crown one champion and possibly see who will become champion in the total championship for this series. But yeah, I feel I'm a bit unprepared, but we are joined, if I can get that up, we are joined by Jason White, our pole sitter for this race. So, good evening, Jason.
Good evening, Jonathan. Thank you for broadcasting our annual Indy 500. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of excitement for everybody out there, and I'd like to say hi to everybody watching on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in.
It'll certainly be a fantastic race, that's for sure. And yeah, last week you managed to take pole position in your Buick-powered car, and I know for a fact you were very excited about that. How are you looking forward to starting at the front row for this one?
Well, I mean, I'm feeling really good. I got the car set to go 500 miles, which obviously means I can't have it running at the revs I did in qualifying. I've detuned it to a point where it's definitely going to last. The car is exceedingly comfortable to drive with the lower revs, and I think, I mean, starting up front, the advantage obviously is that I have a clear track in front of me, and there's very little chance I'll get involved in an incident. So, I mean, that's the advantage of being there. I think, given a straight-up battle with the Penske's, it's going to be really tough. I think, you know, basically the scenario that sees me winning sees a bunch of other people drop out. So, I'm going to need some breaks to go my way today because I've got, you know, not as high a corner speed as the Penske's. I have a fuel mileage concern, so there's things I'm going to need to overcome. But I'm looking to have a good race today. Hopefully the chips will fall my way. If they don't, then, you know, I was the pole sitter, and that in itself is a real treat. So, you know, I'm looking to have a fun race today, and we've been mixing it up on the forum, giving each other jabs back and forth with GIFs and images and stuff, and that's kind of loosened everybody up. So it's funny, like, going into this race, I feel pretty loose and comfortable and not uptight, which is critical, I think.
Yeah, that certainly sounds like a good situation overall for you to be ready for the race.
Yeah, I've done 500 milers at HSO, several of them. Some of them I've done good in, others I've not. But I know what it takes to get to the end of these things, so I'm not going to be doing anything stupid. You know, the first 400 laps, I mean, I'm not going to needlessly dice with people. If other people want to be doing that, you know, that's their business, but I'm not going to do anything risky. I want to, if I can be on the lead lap at the end of like 400 miles, that's the critical thing, and then all bets are off.
Certainly, and I've brought up one of the graphics you provided me with. Thank you very much for that. Of the Buick 3300 in the V6. I know you said you find it easy to drive in the lower revs of the race setup. Would you expect to use any of that extra power that it's allowed, or are you a bit too worried about the engine life?
Absolutely. No, I've got the revs to the point where I can use the full boost periodically if I need to overtake somebody. I mean, the real benefit of having that boost is that you can use it to get by somebody on the long straight very decisively, and then slam the door on them going into the next turn. The Achilles heel for the engine, like I said, set up the way it is now, is that I'm going to have a really hard time with in a corner. If I catch someone at the wrong time, the engine could bog down and I'll have throttle response issues. The other thing is getting out of the pits. I have to be very, very careful with this engine and the valve train going up through the gears. So much so that I am probably going to be, you'll probably see me crawling out of the pits often. I won't be putting, there won't be wheel spin going on. But it's fine by me as long as I can preserve the engine. My basic strategy will be to try to stockpile engine life until the last 100 miles of the race and then just go for it. So.
That certainly sounds like a good plan. This is, of course, I believe the only time we'll see the Buicks in the series. Or did I...
Yeah, this is the first and last time you will see Buicks in this series.
So I'm not wrong. We have all 4 of the Buick powered cars in the field tonight.
We do. We do.
And that's very nice to see. And we also saw the Chevy V6, also nicknamed the Blowtorch, qualify in the hands of Dave Miller, I think is driving that machine.
Dave could be a sleeper today to finish really well. I was driving with him on the server earlier, and he's got that thing set up really well for a race. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him do well. Keep an eye on him.
And it's of course the same, very similar engine layout to what you have, so I can understand why you consider it a sleeper. We also had, in terms of the more unknown engines, or however you want to put it, the Porsche 2708/81 qualify. I believe Bruno qualified in the high 20s. But it'll be interesting to see how that engine stacks up as well, with its somewhat troublesome overheating issues. But
the problem with Bruno is that he's going to have to run extra cooling just to make sure the engine lasts, and that just kills speed. So I think Bruno's hoping to do well based on attrition with that car. But in any case, no matter what happens today, it's an honor to be on pole. I'm feeling confident, but I'm realistic about, it's 500 miles, so I'm not going to throw anything away in the first... if I can get through the first pit stop, I will get very comfortable and just, start driving my race and just focus on things. But again, thank you for broadcasting. I'm going to head back to the Hemmelgarn garage now. Hope everybody enjoys the show, and if by some chance Lady Luck shines on me today and everything falls my way, I'll be hopefully be talking to you again. So.
Certainly, after the race. Thank you very much yourself, and best of luck.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Sure thing.
User disconnected from your channel.
So that's Jason White, our pole sitter, returning to his team's garage to get back into his car and prepare for the race, which is, I believe, about 22 minutes away. But before we head to the track, we have a few more things to look at. We have the points situation in the championship, where thanks to some very consistent races, finishing in the top 5 in all of the opening 4 races, I think, and with a couple of retirements for other drivers, Richard Coxon in the Judd powered number 1 I completely lost the name of the driver. Machine. Give me one moment here. The True Sports Judd. Oh, I don't get the name here either. My apologies. I was given a spreadsheet by Juha Bols for this race. I was hoping real life drivers' names would have been on there as well, but never mind. My thing there. But Richard Coxon leads the championship on 60 points. 13 points behind is Thiago Canola, who I believe qualified in the top 10. I know he was very happy with his performance in qualifying, and hopefully he will get to grips with oval tracks and we can see some really good racing out of him. David Yates, one of those who has retired in earlier races, lines up 3rd in the championship on 46 points. And he too qualified inside the top 10 for this race. Grant Rideau lines up 4th on 35 points. I'm not entirely sure, but I think Grant would be on the second or third row as well. And equal fifth, we have David Junt and Peter Lavac, both on 28 points. I'm not entirely sure where David and Peter qualified last Sunday, but I know David is struggling a little bit with getting the car set up for the race. I know he's still tweaking, making very small tweaks to the car to try and get it to run just a little bit better for him. And we also have, thanks to Jason White of course, the previous winners of the now annual HSO Indianapolis 500, being run of course 1 week ahead of the real life race. I believe it'll be run on next Saturday. Where in 2009 and 2010 running the 1960 mod for R Factor, Richard Bourgeois of France won both of those events. In 2011 to 13 there were no Indianapolis races held, partly due to a lot of work being done and everything else going on for HSO at that time. But in 2014 HSO once again came back to the Indianapolis 500, and that time it was won by JP Kampmeier of France in again the 1960 mod for R Factor. Actually all of these are for R Factor, so we'll get that out of the way. In 2015, Richard Coxon of Great Britain won it, that time running 1973 USAC mod that we at HSO put together. I say we because I'm an admin nowadays, but I wasn't part of the team that put it together, but that was and is a fantastic mod. In 2016, Peter Blom of the Netherlands won the event, that time also running the 1973 iteration of the event. In 2017, Jari Brupacher of Switzerland, so that's slightly miswritten in the graphics here, won the event in what we are running this time around, but in R Factor. Jari unfortunately aren't here to fight yet again for the honors, but also in 2017 all the 500 milers was won by Swiss drivers, one by Jari and two by David Junt. So if that continues, then David Junt will win tonight, but we'll know in a very short while how it's going to look out. And in 2018, last year, Austin Johnson of America won, running the 1974 mod. And I believe he actually won that event by over a lap. Though I could of course be misremembering. Let's see. Trying to get a hold of my graphics here. There we go. And this is of course the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as it looked in the 80s, late 80s. It has changed a lot over the years. with, of course, the race distance being 200 laps, 100 laps of transport, maybe even 150 laps of transport, for a dash to the flag in the last quarter or half of the race, dependent on how the races go for our different drivers. The other two engines that we'll see, sorry, 3 engines we'll see in this event, we have looked at 3 of them. We have 3 more, which are the Cosworth DFX, which powers most of the field, apart from, I believe we have maybe 8 out of the 33 cars powered by either of the other engines. But the Cosworth itself has 720 horsepower. It's slightly heavier than the Ilmor, and I believe the other engines, apart from possibly the Porsche, I believe is a tad bit heavier. And it was introduced in 1975 and was originally a Formula 1 engine, I believe, first time powering one of the Lotuses in the late 60s. But it was in its twilight years in the late 80s, and I believe it was swapped out for the Top Runners in 1990 for a updated, more modern version of the Cosworth. Of course, we have the AV, which powers 2 cars in the field. I believe both of these qualified in the form of the number 4 and the number 81. It has 700 horsepower, so slightly less horsepower than the Cosworth and Ilmor Chevys, but it is lighter and has excellent fuel economy, possibly even able to do it on just 3 stops if there are a couple of yellows to help them, which, when on the other hand, I believe the other engines will have to do at least 4 or 5 stops. And I actually went past it. And of course the Ilmor Chevrolet, the most powerful engine, I believe, in the mod. While it says it has 720 horsepower, it has better mid-range power than the Cosworth and other engines. And it's also lighter than the Cosworth, so it's slightly faster than the Cosworth, and therefore often faster than anything else in the races. Thank you, Nostalgia, and hello everyone. I'm just checking out the chat on the broadcast. Let's see, I believe there's... Let's see, how much time do we have first and foremost? 11 minutes, okay. Let's quickly go through the different chassis combinations that we'll see in the race. I believe all of these will be in here one way or the other. The Lola T8700 is last year's Lola. A very solid car at super speedways, such as this one, so we can possibly expect this to be during the races. We'll also see the Lola T8800, among others, in the hands of the True Sport, which is number 4, which is Richard Coxon's ride for this event. Made in England and very good at road courses and short ovals, but because of the high drags from the underbody, which is why it's so good at road courses, it's probably going to struggle here today. We also have the March 87 and 86Cs. One of the 86Cs is the Blowtorch, which has slightly high downforce, and the wings are common pack for both models. Because of the very smooth surface on this super speedway, I'm expecting the March 87 and 86 to be at least decent to drive. We also have the March 88C, which has very sensitive underbody and difficult setup, and also ditched by several teams for the Lola at the mid-season. I believe one of those were the Krakow team, which ditched the chassis after Indianapolis. So, but yeah, we'll at least see some of these March 88Cs here today. We'll also have, as the last chassis, the Penske PC17. Of course, the chassis that won, I believe, the 88 championship, and also at Indianapolis, though I could be very wrong with that assumption. It is made in Poole, England, and designed by Nigel Bennett, a very well-known designer. He is still working today, I believe, in car designs. After doing Formula cars, he went into endurance racing. And this chassis was only used by Team Penske, which has 3 cars in the field today. And I believe that's everything we need to actually go through, so for now I leave you in the very capable hands of... Ooh, complete brain fade again on the name, but anyway, Jim Neighbor will take over from me for a few minutes, and when we come back we'll be more or less ready to go racing, so until then, hold on tight and enjoy Jim singing Back Home in Alabama. Sorry, not Back Home in Alabama. Back Home in Indianapolis. That's the name.
Fans, it's once again time for the traditional singing of Back Home Again in Indiana. And once again, it is my privilege to introduce to you Mr. Jim Neighbors. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon haze sends all its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
As the traditional balloons ascend into the air, thank you to Jim Neighbors. We switch now to Jim Philippi at the head.
Thank you very much, Jim, for your beautiful singing and bringing a tear to a few sore eyes. I was put in the difficult situation of I didn't actually properly talk about the Porsche, so my apologies there, but Porsche 2708/81, there's only one in the field, the number 8, the Quake Estate sponsored car in the hands of Bruno Chacon. Survival of the fittest is the cue for him, unfortunately. It has 710 horsepower, but will probably not be able to use quite that many. Probably be sitting at around 650 due to the engine cooling he will have to run, and therefore also running slightly lower boost, I'd expect, to keep the temperature down. But it was an unreliable engine in the real life series, and still in development. Of course, a very troubled development for that engine itself, due to the death of one of the leaders of the project, I believe, and a few other bits and pieces along the way. So I'm just trying to bring everything up here, and looks like we are pretty much ready. Let's see if there's anyone out on track at the moment. I would sort of expect there may not be, due to the driver's briefing going on at the moment. But instead, see if we can't. Oh dear me, ouch. Let's do something like that so we can see if anyone joins the track. But yeah, 500 miles ahead of us, 200 laps, about 3.5 minutes away, and a Buick on pole. Not something many of us expected, but Jason White putting in a very good showing last Sunday to put himself on the pole. We of course also have, let's see, who do we actually have in here? We have Ivan Anderson actually. Let's go back there. There we are. Ivan Anderson driving a number 29 Pepsi machine. I believe Ivan is the oldest driver in the race tonight. I think he may be younger than Gerard Rion, but I believe he is older than Gerard. So Ivan at 66 years of age. Very good to have you here, Ivan, and I hope you'll enjoy driving your first Indianapolis 500. Actually, he's a rookie at Indianapolis, but he has been racing with us for the past couple of years. See, we have Jon Team as well in the number 12. I believe that's a one-off drive for him, but I could be wrong. David Miller, of course. Here's the blowtorch. The AJ Foyt entered the Copenhagen-sponsored Chevy stock block in the real race in the hands of Gilmore. But of course tonight pedaled by Dave Miller, who qualified the car very well on Sunday, and hopefully he'll have a good race. I know this car also ran in 2017, I believe. Francois Remen drove the car that time around. We also have Alberto Equino, who did a fantastic job qualifying the number 1 Penske. I think he qualified 3rd or 4th for this race. We have Filippo Marazzi in one of the Hemmelgarn entries. I believe this is one of the Judd-powered machines with a Pizza Hut sponsorship, so it would be interesting to see if Pizza Hut or I can't even remember what the second one is at the moment. A quick look if we can find that machine. Don't seem like I will be able to. Oh well. Anyway, we also have Simon Wattman, who qualified on Sunday with a very good drive. Sorry, he didn't qualify. He was one of the race day alternatives though, and due to others retiring, not being able to run, Simon Wattman is in the race. And I'm very much looking forward to how he will do tonight. In the background we can see the number 17, one of the other Buicks. I believe that is in the hands of Brian Yannick, but I could be wrong. Michael Griffiths is one of our drivers signing up for this race only in the Comcast and Conseco sponsored number 36 machine. Brian Yannick is indeed a number 17. Alan Forster is in the third of the Buick powered cars in the number 15. As we are heading into the race. And unless I'm mistaken, we will have a 2x2 start, mainly because Automobilista struggles with 3 wide starts. We'll be starting behind a game safety car, so that's nice. Of course, Michael Griffiths is on the grid, but the car was actually qualified by Lukasz Vidra, who unfortunately couldn't race himself because he's been away, but I know he's on his train on his way back home from his real life bits, so I hope you will enjoy the broadcast while you're on the train. But of course, due to how the rules worked back in the day, Michael Griffiths starts from the back of the grid, as the green flag is out for the safety car and Jason White leads the field away, followed by Brian Yannick, Alberto Aquino, Alberto Ibanez, son and father on the second row, Alan Forster 5th with David Saber 6th, Mick Chapman 7th with Juha Bors 8th, 9th for Tiago Canola, rounding out the top 10 is Richard Wilkes, 11th Austin Johnson with 12th Ray Riddle, 13th Martin Lassina and 14th Grant Riddle, 15th David Yates with 16th Adam Hackman, 17th Richard Coxon and 18th for Jacob Fredriksson, 19th for Dave Miller and 20th for Jason Fitch, 21st for François Remen and 22nd for David Junt. Raoul Jareb is 23rd with Peter Lauwers 24th, 25th for Eivind Andersen and 26th for Jason Whited, 27th for Jon Thiem and 28th for Bruno Chacon, 29th for Filippo Marazzi and 30th for Jan Kowalski, 31st for Simon Watman and 32nd for Diana Drion, and running out the grid of course is Michael Griffiths, trying to do his best after not qualifying the car himself, but surely looking for a good race here. But yeah, heading through the North Chute and towards the start-finish line to start the race. Jason White and Brian Yannick, the two Buicks that are on the front row. Then we have the two Penske's following them. So let's see, the safety car is heading in. We'll have green flag any moment. Let's see. Here we are, the green flag is on the way and we have a 3.5 hour time limit just to make sure we don't go too long. But here is David Saber jumping straight into the lead. What a fantastic start he had. Jason White has dropped back a little bit, but Brian Yannick retains his second place. Oh, and Alberto Ibanez very wide there, not able to hold on. You can see everyone streaming through. Looks like everyone has survived the opening couple of turns. You can see the top 4 streaking away just a little bit from the rest. And some really good side-by-side action towards the back middle of the grid. Just trying to find my way there if I can. Here we are, François Remen in the third of the Buick cars. As he is being attacked by Peter Lavage, but here we can see the power of that Buick in a straight line. Up ahead, I believe that's David Miller under a bit of attack from Adam Hackman. Oh, and a bit of squirreliness. They all survive and streak out in 2x2. Jason Whited as well in this little fight. We can see behind even more action. So you can see here Francois Remen going up the inside of 2 cars down the front straight. And he actually holds on. Adam Hackman drops off to let Lavac by, and Jason White gets hung out to dry. You can see back there even Anderson leading with just a tiny gap to the cars behind, and we can see here Raul Jareb and Filippo Marazzi, so Marazzi on the move. Started a bit further back, but working his way up the field. Oh, there's contact! Oh dear me, he's in the wall. Raul Jareb must have picked up damage with that. He hit the wall then, but it looks like he ought to be able to... Oh, we have a big crash! Big crash! Oh no, don't tell me that's Øyvind. Oh, it's Grant Ridol! Oh dear me, Simon Wattman. I see someone else looked to be in the pits as well. Who it is? It's Martin Lassina as well out of the race, so let's see what happened here. Dear me, that looks bad. It looks like those two came together in one way or another. Let's see here, we have Martin Lassina up ahead with Richard Wilkes and David Yates up in front. Oh, that looks like there may have been a bit of a lag, and oh! It looks like there possibly was a bit of lag going on there, and everyone has to avoid car parts and stuff because there's wheels and wings and everything. Oh, and he actually spins across the inside of the track. Oh dear. That was a close call for one of the drivers, but we are now under yellow flag. Our first yellow of the day. And Brian Yannick, just before the yellow came out, took the lead. Jason White has worked his way up into second. Third currently is David Saber with Alberto Ibanez fourth. Fifth for Juha Bors and sixth for Austin Johnson. Seventh for Mick Chapman and eighth for Alberto Aquino. So the Penske is running strong, even though some of them have dropped back just a little bit from their starting positions. Thiago Canola currently 9th, so I believe he has climbed just a tad bit in the early parts of this race. David Yates is 10th with Alan Forster 11th, or possibly the other way around considering David Yates is dropping back. Richard Coxon is 12th with Ray Ridol 13th, Richard Wilkes 14th, so Richard Wilkes looks to have dropped just a little bit of time as well with that turn 4 trouble. 15th for Jason Fitch in the Skoal machine. David Junt currently 16th for Rain Racing. 17th for Dave Miller in the Blowtorch. 18th Francois Remen in the Buick. Peter Lavac 19th in the Cosworth. As we can see, Alan Forster heading into the pits for a top up of fuel. Possibly some new tires as well. Adam Hackman 20th, 21st for Eivind Andersen, 22nd for Jason Whited, 23rd for Jan Team, 24th for Jakob Fredriksson, so he's dropped back just a tiny bit the early parts of this race, I think. Filippo Marazzi 25th, Jan Kowalski 26th, sorry 25th, yeah, because Alan Forster is dropping back, so 26th Raul Jareb, 27th currently for Bruno Chacon, so Craig Estate sponsored Porsche powered machine still running. 28th for Gerard Rion. 29th for Michael Griffiths, so he's hanging back, getting a feel for group racing here at Indianapolis. I believe Michael as well is a first timer in the 88 mod, but I think he ran the Indianapolis last year as well, but he of course could be wrong. Alan Forster comes out of the pits in 30th, and Simon Wattman also headed for the pits for a quick top up of fuel and some new tires. Unfortunately, our two early retirements are Martin Lassina and Grant Ridol. It looks like we'll have at least one more lap of safety car, unfortunately. That was some short but very frantic action to start off the race. can see here almost a minute is added to the lap time during yellows. So that's how careful the safety car driver is as to not fly off the road. We're gonna change to gear, so presumably we're going green this time around, so let's see what happens here. We'll ride on board with Ryan Yannick on the restart. He of course has Jason White for close company. And then the Ilmo Chevrolet powered number 6 machine of David Saber in third. Green flag is out, and Brian Yannick has a massive jump on the rest of the field. Jason White with a bit more trouble with the field behind, and a bit loose for Saber. Clearly not happy with a lot of fuel in the car. When it looks like Jason White is very slow of turn 4, I wonder if he went 4th gear then, or 5th, whatever he has as a cruising gear. Because that's David Saber up into 2nd. Ooh, and very loose for Brian Yannick as well. Ooh, and loose for Jason White heading into the last turn at 4. You can see a bit more strung out this time around. At least by the looks of things that's the case. Ooh, as I say that, there's almost 3 wide coming up of 2. Ooh, and I believe that was that Michael Griffiths getting very close to the wall. You can see here, right here, Richard Coxon using the draft to hang with the rest of the top 10. Let's go back to where I saw that action. That's Francois Remen, Peter Lavach, Dave Miller in the blowtorch. So 2 V6 cars as we have a yellow again. So you can possibly see... Oh no! Oh no, it's Eivind! Eivind Anderson unfortunately out of the race. Let's see, coming into turn 3. Oh, there's 2, 3 wide. Oh, and... Oh! So unfortunately Richard Wilkes... Looks like Richard Wilkes got touched up ahead. We have Richard Wilkes in front of him to our right, and I believe we'll have a car coming up the inside here. Yep, Jon Team going up the inside into 3, and he makes contact with Richard Wilkes, and Eivind just trying to stay out of trouble. Unfortunately, ends up out of the race. So very unfortunate for him. Very sorry for Eivind. I was looking forward to him having a good race here, but at least he put in a good show in qualifying and did a very good job early on in the race, but unfortunately the tiniest of things can turn it all around for you. So with that, we'll have a quick break with a couple of ads, and when we come back we'll be close to racing once again.
Today's small cars are tougher than ever on oil. They're high compression engines not only rev high, they can run hotter than regular small car engines. Their searing heat can begin to break down an oil immediately. That's why there's Castrol, the motor oil that in every grade provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown. So use Castrol before your engine does something to get you heated up. Castrol, engineered for today's smaller cars.
In the pizza delivery game, the Noid can zap ordinary pizzas. But Domino's Pizza delivers more than all the others combined. So when you call Domino's Pizza, you get the best delivered pizza. The Noid just can't beat the best. Domino's Pizza. Nobody delivers better.
We're back at Indianapolis, looking at the safety car train. Jason White still in third. I believe we are looking at a green flag this time round. We are indeed, so safety car is coming in. See if Brian can get as good a restart this time. It looks like he will. Yeah, he definitely pulls away from the rest of the field. Looks like Juha Boos climbed into third. He did indeed. Ooh, and there's almost... Ooh! There's actually a little bit of contact between Alberto Ibanez and Jason White. I know Jason won't be happy with that. He wanted a clean first half of the race. Looks like we have a few groups forming yet again. We can see behind us a bit of a fight. Here we are. It's Jason Fish looking up the inside of Peter Lavac. One Coxon trying to get some air on his front wing. Let's watch this from David Jun's point of view as Richard Coxon looks up the inside of Jason Fitch going towards turn 3, as well as Peter Lavac looking up the inside of Ray Riddle up ahead. With a little bit of lag there, but I don't think anyone hit the wall. See behind that, there's two cars going too wide into one. It's Dave Miller in one of the cars, I think. Yes, indeed, it's Dave Miller and Jason White and Jacob Fredriksson. It's back again with the fight here, as Francois Remen has a big loose coming onto the back stretch. But that Buick power definitely helping him in a straight line. As Jason Fitch enters way too quickly, makes a bit of contact with Ray Riddle and drops back. Hopefully no damage for either of them, and almost 3 wide going into 4 is Fredriksson, White and Miller, with Miller dropping back from 16th to 18th. You can see up front Brian Yannick running away with the lead for the time being. 3-second lead is Mahusiv around here. Back behind we could see Juha Boos going past David Saber for second. Possibly Juha Boos feeling more confident to run in front of another car, and Saber likewise running behind. And therefore they should be able to chase after Brian Yannick. You see Coxon still trying to hold on to the train with Canola Jason White does the quickest lap of the race. Chapman and Lavach just about being able to stay in the slipstream. Francois Ramen currently 12th, so he has gotten back past Ray Riddle. Here's Jacob Fredriksson on the attack on Jason Fitch. No, actually staying behind for now. Jason Fitch looking a little bit racier. Richard Wilkes still running, so presumably no repairs for him. I think Jan Kowalski and Bruno Chacon possibly enter the pits during that last yellow. Jason White again with the quickest lap. You can see here, as we can see right here, Alan Forster running at the back at the moment. With his recent pit stop. Oh, David Yates is out! I didn't even notice! Oh dear, he must have retired at a similar time to Ivan Anderson. Deary me. That's very unfortunate for the championship. He was in the top 5, as was Grant Riddle. And here's Peter Lavach on the attack on Mick Chapman. Richard Coxon has gotten past Thiago Canola, but Canola streaming up right behind him, wanting to get a move on for the two of them. As Ray Riddle is back past Francois Ramen, so I think these guys are battling a bit too hard to catch up to the guys in front. Ferguson past Fitch. Back behind we have a 4-car train with Jan Kowalski at the back of it. There's Filippo Marazzi, Adam Hackman, and I believe that's John Teen in there as well. Interesting, Young Kowalski actually backed off just a little bit. Oh, as Marazzi gets really loose coming up from 1 in the south chute. Very close to the wall there came Jon Team, I think that was, getting very close to the wall. You can see that there's some good racing going on up and down the field. So I hope everyone is aware that there's still... Ooh, I'm not sure Alberto Ibanez thinks there's many laps left. We've completed 21 of our 200 laps. And Alberto really on the attack here. Austin Johnson running behind a pair of them, looking to get up the field in the apologies, I had to sneeze then. As Alberto goes up the inside into turn 1 and David Saber gets left out hung out to dry, and Austin Johnson gets by as well. So Austin in the Cosworth looking to hang on to the Gilmo Chevrolet of the Penske and actually looking up the inside here. Of course, Austin won last year, so he's hoping to retain his Indianapolis crown. Ooh, and they are getting very close to one another. When here comes David Saber with a massive run. Now seen from the perspective of Berto Junior, sitting in 7th and just hanging back a little bit. A very good idea to do so. In terms of the fuel, everyone should be doing about a 44 laps or so. I wonder, I saw Peter Lavach dropping back. Was he in the pits? Oh, he wasn't. Okay, so that's... I wonder what's happened to Peter. He was up in the fight earlier. Unless it corrects itself right here. No, it doesn't. Oh dear, I wonder if there was a bug or something, because he's just retired. Wow. That's really unfortunate for him. He was having a good race up until then. We can see here Canola and Coxon working together on the fringes of the top 10, trying to catch back up to Chapman up ahead first and foremost. And we can see here the whole group of cars, and Jason White actually has taken the lead in the last few laps, gotten past Ryan Yannick among others. So the tactic looks to be working for now. I wonder if Ryan possibly cooked his tires a little bit the early parts of this run stint, but there he goes up in the second, while Jason streaks away. See here from Austin Johnson's car. Ooh, there's actually a bit of contact there. Not sure if Alberto changed gear or what went on then, but hopefully no damage for either of them, and they can both keep going. Clearly Austin is very quick in traffic, being able to hang with the Penske and seemingly doing it quite easily. Though of course it's never easy in oval racing. Here he comes down the straight with a 3 or 4 car slipstream. Ooh, and I believe actually Juha Boos. Okay, that was possibly a little bit of tiny lag. No actual contact with the wall. When Alberto now looking up the inside of Juha Boos, looking for third. Forcing Juha very wide indeed, and Juha gets loose. Austin goes up the inside and up into fourth. Now here comes Austin with a run on Alberto. He actually sticks behind. He wants to catch up to the Buicks up ahead of them. Juha lost out a lot there. And Sabre is the biggest loser since we last checked in on the front. He's now in 8th. Cox and Canola still running together, with Ridol, Men and Junt still running together. And then behind I noticed Jacob Frusen got a little bit loose, but he's running with Jason Fitch. Currently alone is Jason White, but he has Richard Wilkes not far behind. And the back of the field looks to be about 10 seconds away of being lapped. I wonder if Michael Griffiths is in trouble here. Oh, he's actually in the pits. That's a very early stop after only 27 laps. At least it feels like. No, it may not be an early stop, because that's quite a few people heading into the pits, and of course some may be taking it easy and making sure they have enough fuel. Dave Miller is another one in the pits. Coming out of the pits is Jason White actually, so this will be interesting. He was leading just before this pit stop. And of course also in terms of the pit lane itself, there's a 100-mile-an-hour speed limit. So not slouching, but when the cars on the track is going by at 200 mile an hour plus, you're losing out quite a bit of time, but he has stayed on the lead lap. Comes out in 24th, just ahead of the leaders actually. Half the straight behind him is the leaders, so that's how much you can lose in the pits if you do it on a green flag. And Chacon, Yareb, Alan Forster and Brian Yannick in the pits as well, a lap later than Jason White. So let's see if he can come out ahead of Jason White. Interesting to watch. Of course, our drivers has to stay below the yellow painted line here when they are coming out of the pits. And here comes Jason White. Looks like he'll overtake Brian right here. He does, actually fairly comfortably. And we can see that on low fuel the cars behind are catching up, so Brian will be doing everything he can to stay on the lead lap, I'm sure. Though of course with cold tires I'm not sure how long he can stay up in front, but he's not moving out of the way. When looks like Alberto should have the overlap now and laps Brian Yannick, and here comes Austin Johnson as well looking for the lap. Oh, and Brian Yannick actually has a bit of contact with Austin, and Mick Chapman slips past as well. So with pit stops incoming, Alan Forster might be in a good position. In the pits is Whited, Richard Wilkes, Jason Fitch, Juha Bors, Ray Riddle, Marazzi. Here comes Jason up into 17th now. Here comes the leading group. That's Coxon, Alberto Quina, David Saber, Mick Chapman, Austin Johnson. Canola stays out, as does Alberto Ibanez. Oh, and that's very precarious for Mick Chapman unless David Saber gets out first. That's Austin Johnson there going out of the pits. No, Mick actually has to reverse and he loses out quite a bit there. That's very unfortunate for Mick. He'll be hoping they pit on different laps in the future. As here comes a few others. Juha Bors has beaten Brian Yannick in the pit stops, but here comes Brian down the straight with that Buick power. When Coxon as well coming out of the pits is being passed by two of the drivers there. Oh no, that's a car going slowly, hopefully not a blown engine. That's Michael Griffiths, presumably with damage of some kind. He's been slow for quite a while here. Oh, he actually had a bit of a moment there. Well, he's heading for the pits again. It looks like he is crabbing, so he must have hit the wall somewhere. And all kinds of troubles breaking out as drivers head on. It looks like Adam Hackman may have had a speeding penalty. And I see he just came into the pits. But here's Wilkes and Fitch now running together. Jason White has pulled away just a little bit from them. Also, Amen has gotten a bit of a gap, and Simon Watman, I think, has yet to pit. But he stays out still for now. And there's David Jun being passed by Mick Chapman. There's Jakob Fredriksson coming out of the pits after a late pit stop in a pit stop cycle. See Jason White currently 5th. Not entirely sure. Looks like that's a bit of a gap to the cars in front, so he lost out during pit stops, as did Brian Yannick. Oli Reb has yet to pit, and Alan Forster has yet to pit, so Alberto Ibanez is the aggregate leader, but he has Austin Johnson for very close company here. So that's Ibanez, Johnson, White, Yannick, Bors, Coxon and Canola. I believe Chapman is the next one, the Queen of 13th, Alberto Junior. Jakob Fredriksson 14th. Here comes François Armen 15th. 16th, Jason White, and it's Wilkes and Fitch. And Dave Miller in the blowtorch. Hackman 20th. Marazzi 21st. And there's Jereb again in the lead. So Watman, I believe that was, having just pitted. No, Forster, sorry. And here comes Ibanez going lapping Jan Kowalski, and he also lets Johnson through. Johnson with a huge run, but he is content to sit behind for the time being. Trying to work the gap to the cars behind, but it still looks like White and Yannick is closing in. Kowalski with a huge run, but he doesn't want to. Don't think he's looking to unlap himself. He's just looking for a clear track. And in Ibanez, Alberto, they're very wide. A bit dangerous to be all the way out there, but we can see here how much Jason White closes in. He has a lot of pace in that Hemmelgarn Buick. Jan Kowalski up the inside. He is actually racing and wants to get back on the lead lap in case there's a yellow. So this is where it becomes very dangerous, with traffic trying to be lapped or unlap itself, and the leaders fighting for position as well. Oh, and Johnson and Kowalski very wide indeed, coming off of 4. And Johnson again very loose off the racing line and in the marbles there. Here comes Jason White to lap Jan Kowalski. Bit of extra speed carried through, but he holds on. Now Yannick to do the same, the second of the Buicks. So this is interesting. We have the Chevrolet Ilmore in this one. We have the Cosworth in Johnson's machine, and we have 2 Buicks running behind, top 4. Oh, Johnson using all the available track, getting right up to the wall. It looks like Alberto has pulled away. Now Austin is under attack by Jason. Oh, and there he goes up the inside, and I believe he will be clean past. And he is. So let's see if Brian Yannick can do the same. Alan Forster in the fourth of the Buicks is last on the lead lap. Presumably not far from being lapped, with 55 seconds behind the leader. Whereas Brian actually scrapes the wall there. One bit of movement on the straight, but here comes Brian towards the end, looking for a run, but not able to make anything of it. Clearly the Buick drivers is having to be quite careful. As there we have Alan Forster actually now being lapped. He actually holds up his teammate here. That's unfortunate for Brian. But Alan very wide there. Stays wide though, so he should probably let his teammate past. So I'm not sure why that says he isn't a lap down in the timing yet, but oh well. Let's see. Bit left until there's another bit of traffic and racing going on, I think, so let's have a look. Actually 8th and 7th now after the pit stops. Canola and Coxon. Running right behind Mick Chapman, so that's a good drafting buddy, I think, for Coxon and Canola. And here is Alberto Equino going past and up into 9th on David Saber with David Junt for close company as well. We'll fight for the top 10 finishing position. Jacob Fredriksson running 12th, Francois Remen 14th. Sorry, 13th, Richard Willox 14th. Jason Fitch still in 15th, and he is closely followed by Jason Whited. Raul Yareb trying to make his way up the field in his Pizza Hut car. So he's currently winning the Pizza Wars. With Dave Miller right behind him, actually. And actually going past down the straight. That's some power from that blowtorch. Hackman 19th, Marazzi 20th, just being lapped by Jason White. And White now actually right on the tail of Alberto Ibanez. Here comes Brian Yannick and Austin Johnson as well, making their way up, so that's a 4-car train now for the lead of the race. Oh, and here comes Jason with a fantastic run. Brian as well, my god, what a run! Ooh. Nicely held, good responsible driving from all of them. As there we have, I believe that's Simon Wattman heading for the pits. And Austin Johnson trying to get up into third, and we have a yellow flag. We have a pending yellow flag. I wonder what... Dear me, this looks to be the problem area. I believe that's Jan Kowalski possibly hitting the wall. Oh, not necessarily hitting the wall, but he had... I believe that's Juha Bors right behind him. He's right on board here. I believe the car will just... Yep, but as he tries to come down, the loss of air on the front end makes him lose the car. Oh, very good recovery, and actually goes right up to the outside wall to make sure he's not in the way of anyone approaching. Very nicely done, Jan. Great safe drive there. As we unfortunately enter a yellow flag period after just under the quarter distance travel. But while we're here, let's actually bring up the trivia question for you to think about. We can go for it at the 3/4 distance, I suppose. Let's see, the question is, who is credited with starting the tradition of the Indy 500 winner drinking milk? Was it A, Louis Mayer, B, Wilbur Shaw, or C, Maury Rose? And I gotta say, I got this wrong when I tried it, but you never know. I suppose many of you have far better knowledge than I do about the Indy 500. But yeah, that's what you have around to think about. See, I wonder if we'll see a few pit stops. We are indeed. So we have Jason White in the pits, Brian Yannick, Alberto Ibanez, Austin Johnson, Mick Chapman, Juha Bors, Richard Coxon, Thiago Canola, Alberto Equino, Jacob Fredriksson, Francois Remen, Jason Whited, Dave Miller, Adam Hackman, and Filippo Marazzi now actually technically on the lead lap, though unfortunately caught behind the safety car, as is Alan Forster and Ray Riddle and Jan Kowalski. Let's see. First out of pits is Jason White, so he has retained his position. Now in 5th, so he is in a prime position to run away with a sizable gap if he can get past the traffic early on in this, for him, 3rd stint. As it looks like Bruno Chacon is heading for the pits. Oh, we have a green flag as well. Oh, and Jon Team has got a 10-second stop and go penalty. What for? Oh well. Ooh. As Ray Riddle has a bit of a moment, but David Saber leads the field away. Richard Wilkes 2nd, with Fitch, Fern and Riereb 4th. And it's Johnson and White again with a very slow getaway on the restart. I wonder if his higher gears are really troublesome on the restarts. Of course, we also heard him saying that he doesn't want to blow the engine, so also being a bit too careful maybe. Oh no! 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 Oh, that's a big accident. That's Austin Johnson out. Oh, and we have more crashes. Oh no, that's Dave Miller coming into the crash as well. Oh dear. So we had. Not even sure who that is. It's that. Can't even make out who that is. Is it John? Is that? Oh, it's Jon Team. Jon Team a lap down, trying to get out of the way. Hits the grass on the inside. Johnson with nowhere to go. Hits him wheel to wheel. His car mounts up in the air and hits the barriers and the catch fencing. In it as well is Raul Riereb. But the biggest crash for sure is for Austin Johnson. That's very reminiscent of many very serious crashes we've seen over the years. And then we have Alberto Ibanez just about avoiding it. I'm not sure. Oh, Alberto! Oh no! Alberto Ibanez also hit the wall. And then we have Dave Miller. Unsighted, first hits Jon Team, and then hits hits Austin Johnson's car. Oh dearie me, that's really unfortunate for many of our drivers. It looks like Dave Miller is now in the pits repairing, as is Alberto Ibanez. So Alberto, with a lot of bad luck there, will be a very long pit stop to try and repair the car. Jakob Fredriksson as well heading for the pits. I wonder if he may have picked up a bit of damage that time around, but dearie me. No, sorry, that's not a green flag. I just saw something pop up there, but it wasn't a green flag, like I thought it was saying. So Alberto Aquino just about avoided that, possibly helped by his father shouting at him that something was coming up. Francois Remen avoided it, Jason White avoided it, Hackman avoided it, David Saber I believe was partly involved in that, hopefully no major damage for him. Jakob Fredriksson presumably involved in that, unless of course he stayed out. I don't know, I can't remember if he stayed out. No, he pitted earlier, so either he just wants to fill up or he's looking for a bit of luck. But clearly the biggest losers here are Alberto Ibanez and Dave Miller, unfortunately, along with Austin Johnson, of course. And Jon Team, both of those drivers out as well. That's very unfortunate indeed. A very big accident. As we're heading for one more lap. You see, that's Alan Forster, I believe that's Adam Hackman, and actually not sure exactly who that Dick Simon entry car is. Oh, there's a bit of a stack up there. So Alan Forster creeping into his pit stall. It's Filippo Marazzi also in the pits. Well, hopefully their cars will be able to be repaired and they can keep on running. But of course, with that big accident, I wonder if we'll have one more lap of safety car or not. See, 4th gear, so presumably we are heading for a restart. Okay, we are not, so with that we'll have a quick advert coming in, and when we come back we'll be racing, I'm fairly sure.
The Goodyear Racing Eagle. And when A.J. Foyt takes to the street, he prefers the radio used exclusively on the Corvette, the Goodyear Eagle VR Gatorback. And not by coincidence, because Goodyear makes better high-performance tires. For the track and for the street, Goodyear Eagles. They'll take you home the quick way or to the winner's circle.
Goodyear, take me home.
Let's see, sounds like we are just about perfectly in time here. Back at the racetrack for the race restart, and we are indeed, so green flag will be out any moment here, and when it comes out, Ray Riddle will lead a field. Richard Wilkes right behind him. Here we are, the race is underway yet again. Ray actually stays ahead for now. Coxon's next on the lead lap with Brian Yannick close behind, and there's a bit of a stack up behind with Jason White losing out. Oh dearie me! Ooh! Oh, and really loses Francois Remen with Alberto Equino and Jason White very slow off turn 1. I wonder if Jason possibly are in a bit of trouble here. Ooh, and very loose on turn in. Clearly in some kind of difficulty. Either rattle or he actually has some damage. Not entirely sure, but hopefully now that he's a bit more on his own, he should be able to regain his running, and he should be able to. Oh, Alberto gets the drive through, presumably for speeding. Let's hope his car is repaired. Dave Miller still in the pits for repairs. So very long repairs for both of them. But Richard Wilkes streaming away with the lead for the time being. Sticking in the raft of Ray Riddle. Richard Coxon currently being caught by Brian Yannick. Juha Bols with a big group of cars behind. All different positions, some lap and some on the lead lap, fighting for positions. And obviously fighting for position on track. So one of the biggest movers on this restart is François Armen, currently sitting in 6th behind Raoul Yereb. As Raoul Yereb now looks to lap Durand Rion. Looks like he'll be able to do so. Oh, gets very close to the wall. And it's Remen's turn. Kinds of racing going on. Jason White looking up the inside. Oh, and he runs very wide, actually makes contact with Jason White. White scrapes along the wall. I wonder if his car is okay. Certainly taking it easy right here. That was just a bit too much speed carried by Jason White into the turn there. Rion very wide here. Oh, Rion actually hits the wall quite hard. Oh. At least it looked like he hit it quite hard, but Jason Fitch has to check up. Here comes Jakob Ferguson up past him. Jan Kowalski trying to unlap himself as well. David Sabre trying to find his way up the field as well. It's Alberto Equinos on the inside. Oh, and there's a bit more contact, this time with François Remen. One of the Buicks, he drops back quite a bit. Oh, and an aggressive turn in there, trying to get out of the dirty air. So Jason White back up into the top 10. François Remen dropping back due to that moment. And here comes David Sabre trying to get up past. I think they both survived that one. Oh, looking very wide indeed, but maybe that's Jason's preferred line. David Junt next on his list of drivers to try and take on. And actually a near 5-second lead is Richard Wilkes at the moment. So he is definitely flying and running right behind Ray Rideau. Looks like Jason White is currently cruising. He's in 5th gear. Still getting up to 223. I believe I have it set to miles an hour. We're very close to that wall, but keeps on running. Looks like behind it's fairly well behaved. Dave Miller back out running. Quite a few laps down, obviously. 2 laps to his closest contender, but at least it looks like he will be able to continue. Right now sitting right behind Simon Wattman. 25th and 23rd respectively. I think that's a lap ahead fight. That we saw behind there. Richard Wilkes now actually running in front of Ray Rideau. And Brian Yannick has gotten past Richard Coxon, and Coxon now of course obviously going to look to run in draft. Whereas Wilkes actually heads for the pits. This will cost Richard Wilkes quite a bit. I think he was hoping for another yellow. Though of course he could be on a slightly different strategy, one way or the other. So 1-2 now is Yannick and Coxon. Behind is everyone else by the looks of things. Bose, Chapman, Yereb, Canola, Jason White, Alberto Jr. and David Junt. As Mick Chapman gets past David Junt, Thierry Canola looking up the inside of Raoul Yereb. Looks like Jason White wants to follow him through, but can't quite do it there, but ought to be able to do it down the straight. Yes. Looks like Canola is thinking about a move on Juha Boss, but doesn't do it there. Looks like Mick might be able to pull away from these guys. As Jason White now looks up the inside, and looks like he'll streak past. Oh, he actually does. I think that's how he passes the block. He's doing sort of a block pass like he was talking about. I think he mentioned it earlier. I don't know if he did it while we were talking to him, but I know he was talking about it before during practice. So Mick Chapman running very quickly at the moment, only 3/10 of his fastest personal fastest lap. He's currently 6 seconds behind Yannick and Coxon. As here comes Canola up the inside of Juha Boss. They are actually still side by side. There goes Canola. Jason White right behind him as well, with Alberto Quino not far behind, as is Raul Jereb. And here comes David Junt with a big run. As Canola defends the inside line. Ooh, as Jason White is slightly crowded out by Juha Boss, but Jason White takes the position. Very close there between Equino and Juha Boss. As Jason White got past Canola on that start-finish straight, now up into 4th. But still 4 seconds behind Mick Chapman, so Chapman has checked out. And Brian Yannick now encountering traffic, that's Ray Rideau. Brian clearly pedaling that Buick powered, I believe that's one of the Lolas, very well indeed. As is of course Richard Coxon running very well in that Judd car. That Judd of course having less power than possibly all the engines, apart from possibly the Porsche, due to how that Porsche has to run. As Simon Wattman unfortunately has retired, I just noticed on the screen. I wonder what has happened there. We'll just have a quick look, see if we can bring that up. It looks like some kind of trouble with the pit stop, possibly. Because he stops, he's serviced. He heads out and he retires, so presumably a problem that the pits couldn't fix as Gerard Rion heads out of the pits. Dave Miller still running 25th. And let's get back to the leaders, where they are still nose to tail running together. Mick Chapman doing his best to catch up. He's only dropped about a second since we last saw him. But Jason White still not catching up to Mick Chapman, so Chapman running very well at the moment. And Tiago Canola right behind him. Well, Juha Boss has retired as well. Whatever happened there? He was also running very well. Seems to have been a while ago. So the Gallus racing car is out of the race. Yeah, quite a while ago, so not sure what happened there. Possibly just a normal disconnection, I suppose. Was Chapman actually does the quickest lap of a 42.3. That's very impressive indeed. Now he's actually catching up to the cars in front. He gained almost a second that lap, possibly partly down to traffic, but that's still quite a bit of time to gain, as Dave Miller being lapped by Jason White and Thiago Canola. But Berto Equino, the junior, doing very well, running 6th, now looking to get by the Blowtorch. So unfortunately the Blowtorch won't be able to fight outright for positions, but as long as it's running it'll get a good finish. David Junt running right behind Alberto, so that shows how well Alberto's doing. So you can see in the background there, Dave Miller really having to fight the car, so it's not nowhere near fully spec'd and fully repaired, but he has what he has to run with. 8th, David Saber, and Jason Fitch actually running 9th. So that's a very good effort from Jason here. Hopefully he'll have a good finish. I know he's been struggling just a tiny bit this year. He struggled a lot last year, so it'll be nice to see him get a good finish here. And running at the top 10 for the time being is just about Francois Remen, with some very hefty company here with Jacob Ferguson, Jason Whitehead and Alan Forster. Not sure if Forster is actually in this. No, he's not. He is a lap behind them. Looks like Francois Remen is possibly running a bit too high wing. Loses out to Jacob Ferguson, so Ferguson makes it up into the top 10. Our 2017 champion in this series. It looks like the men wants to run together to catch the cars in front. Adam Hackman currently running 13th. 14th for Richard Wilkes after a few antics along the way. Raoul Yareb running 15th, Alan Forster 16th, a lap behind the group in front. Jan Kowalski 17th, Filippo Marazzi 18th. Bruno Chacon 19th, still running with a Porsche, which is nice to see. Ray Riddle currently 20th. He's had a few issues along the way. Alberto Ibanez still running 21st, 22nd for you, and unfortunately retired Juha Bols. Gerard Riaud now 22nd then. Soon to be 23rd is Dave Miller. And then unfortunately we have our retirees. So up at the front, still nose to tail, but Mick Chapman catching them at a crazy rate, and we are joined by Juha Bols. That's very unfortunate. Juha, what happened to you?
The worst thing that could possibly happen, connection lost.
Oh, so it was what I thought. That's very, very unfortunate indeed.
Yeah, I think my internet connection had a small blackout. Unfortunate.
I feel very sorry for you. You were having a great race by the looks of things. Oh, as it looks like
on a great race as well.
Yes, as out on track now, Alberto Ibanez in the Penske is holding up the leaders, and that is helping Mick Chapman. Looks like they are 3 wide down the straight. Oh, Brian just about ahead. Ibanez in the wall.
Alberto gloves the ball. Everybody's safe.
Just about holds on, but Mick Chapman right in this now. He's been having a very quiet race, and it looks like.
And Brian pits.
Yeah.
Mick takes the lead.
So that's pretty much exactly 22 laps, I believe, since he last pitted. He pitted during the last yellow. Looks like it's that Jason Whitehead heading into the pits as well. It is, so the Buick's pitting at the same time. I believe this will drop them a lap now. Until the pit stops play out, of course.
Yes, and Jason has a really annoying stall. He's right in front of Brian.
Well,
Brian probably have to reverse to get out.
And the third Buick comes into the pits as well.
Yeah.
He has to. Dear me, that's very unfortunate for Brian.
Yes.
And now Jason White heads out of the pits as well, 12th at the moment.
In the pits. Richard Coxon now leads.
Well, there he goes. So White now a lap down.
Would have thought the worst engine is now leading the race.
Well, it depends how you.
Consumption, obviously.
That depends on how you look at the engines. I'd say the Porsche is probably the worst for this one. As Mick Chapman
True.
is in the pits, as you said, heading out now. And Coxon actually with quite a big lead of 9 seconds, 10 seconds at the moment, running in the draft of Alberto Ibanez. And that's how Richard has been running the whole day, pretty much, behind other cars and using the draft to maximum profit. And Alberto Equino now in the pits, very close to the wall there. Putting his pit crew to a bit of work, trying to get the tyres changed. As Yannick now trying to catch... Hold on, where's... Oh, Jason White has retired! Oh no, he crashed! Oh dearie me.
Richard is in the pits.
It was I'm just watching... Oh, the car just slightly broke loose on him and Jason hit the grass and could do nothing once he hit the grass to try and save the car. Oh dear me. Oh. I'm really sorry for Jason. He was hoping for a good race and was having a fantastic race up until that point. It just takes half a car with wide and a bit of a moment, and we have a yellow flag due to that, I think, and Dave Miller as well off the road here. It looks like he's had a bit of quite a big one. He nudged the wall very early on, lost the rear wing, and then had no way to hold on to the car and struck the wall, and unfortunately brings out another yellow as he spins down to the inside of the track.
Yes, there's a huge advantage for Richardson, who is now in third with a full tank. Although the same could be said about a few others.
Of course. As we are also joined by Jason White. I'm really sorry for that, Jason. You were having a fantastic race up until that point by the looks of things.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. I came out, I was on my out lap, I was trying to catch people, and the back end just got away from me a little bit. I almost caught it, and it came back to the wall, and it was just one of those slow motion things. I'm like, oh no. And that was it. Clocked the wall, engine gone, wheels gone, that's it. So it was a difficult race for me. I mean, I was getting swallowed up on restarts by everybody, and I knew that was going to be the problem. Even by the other Buicks, so they must have known something that I didn't. But good grief, it just, like, I got stuck back in traffic for a little bit, like around 11th, and it was nuts back there. People were doing crazy stuff. I mean, I understand they were, you know, in battle for position, but there was a lot of really, I don't know. These guys weren't planning on finishing the race. In any case, it's been a great month of May. I was pleased to be on the pole. It was a real thrill, and that's just the way it is. I mean, I had some good luck earlier. There was a crash that involved, I think it was John Team and Austin Johnson, that happened right in front of me. And I was lucky enough to avoid that. I mean, it's just one of those deals. I'm disappointed, but on the other hand, I got the pole this month, so it's not like I'm coming away empty-handed. So.
No, of course not. That meant 1 point in the championship overall, and a fantastic feeling for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I go back to the Judd engine for the rest of the year, so it's a question of, okay, you know, whereas I'm basically back to racing economy races. I hope Richard Coxon can do well in the Judd. He's getting up there really well, and he's doing it purely on fuel economy. Juha, what happened to you?
Connection lost.
Oh, geez, that's
horrible.
Well, at least it's not your fault.
No, but I already damaged it earlier by Well, another accident, so I was still quick, but I don't think it would have been competitive enough to keep going. No, it happens. Live with it.
Yeah, it's the way it goes. But in any case,
So I'd rather have that than have a proper accident and get somebody else. Game it happens tonight and on a minor race.
yeah, true. All right, well, you guys want me to hang here and act as a color commentator?
You're welcome to join us.
All right, I'm gonna come back in to the game as a spectator then, so I can be of some use. If I can't be on the track, I may as well. I mean, I'd rather not go sulk in the corner because I don't think that's useful. First of all, and secondly, you know, it's a tough race to begin with. So,
Well, back on track we've
had a restart with Richard Coxon taking the lead.
he could be the sleeper here, folks. He's got that Judd engine. He's managing his fuel.
He was just in the refuel when the yellow dropped, so he's where he should be. Right place, right time. Either one.
And of course he has won the event before, so he knows what he needs to do.
Yep.
We've also got a battle going on for third.